Welcome to another video on Netflix series called Dark. Firstly, I would like to tell if you haven't watched the show, then save this video and watch later because it contains all the spoilers. But I'm pretty sure once you finish the show, it'll leave you in confusion, and this video will clear all your confusions. The timeline of the show is between the year 1822 to 2053. So let's move in a chronological order. So the year is 1822. On 23rd September, Gustav Tannhaus is with his son Leopold and teaches him about the possibility to bring back the dead. Gustav believes time travel could bring back his dead wife. This obsession works its way to Leopold as he allows middle-aged Jonas to work in his shop to construct the time machine. Now after many quiet years, in 1888, September 21st, Jonas and the other teens have traveled back. This is from the end of season 2. On 23rd September, Leopold is killed by a man known as the Unknown. Leopold was on his way back to deliver a telegram saying time travel is possible. In 1890, Jonas and the other teens are still working on the time machine. Silja is sent back from the year 2053 by Adam. Silja and Bartosz fall in love. In the year 1910, Silja will die while giving birth to Noah's sister Agnes. In the next year, in 1911, Hannah is brought to Adam by Eve, causing him to later kill his own mother because she was not supposed to be in this time period. After 9 years, in 1920, Egon Tiedemann is born. In 1921, on June 21st, young Noah and Bartosz work on the tunnel, but Noah ends up killing him at Adam's orders because he started losing faith in Adam's plan. Noah is brainwashed by Adam and doesn't know that Bartosz is his father. On 23rd June, teen Jonas wakes up in a wheat field after having traveled from 2053. A day after he meets young Noah and Agnes and is taken to Adam, who reveals to be himself. On 27th June, older Noah attempts to kill Adam after he finds out that his plans from the torn out pages of the Triquetra book. The torn pages were taken after killing old Claudia Tiedemann in the future. But the gun doesn't work. Fate doesn't allow Adam to be killed there. And we see Noah's middle-aged sister kills Noah because she believes in Adam's plan and wants to be a member of the sick Mundus. Now the year is 1942 and Claudia Tiedemann is born. The next year, in 1943, Helge Doppler is born. In the year 1953, on November, adult Helge traveled from ETs to dispose of the bodies of Erich Obendorf and Yasin, who were taken from 2019. Ulrich has traveled back in time and meets young Helge, believing that if he kills him, then he will not grow up to kidnap his son Mikkel. Bernd Doppler holds an investor meeting for the future Winden nuclear power plant. In the same year, on 11th November, Ulrich is arrested by Egon on suspicion that he killed those two boys. On same day, old Claudia has traveled back in time, who visits H.G. Tannhaus and gives him the blueprint for the apparatus. In the year 1954, old Claudia buries her time machine so that it can be dug up in 1987 by her younger self. She also meets her father, a middle-aged Tiedemann, and apologizes to him without saying why or what she was apologizing for. Old Claudia ends up giving Tannhaus his own book, which he is yet to write. The book was given to middle-aged Claudia as a present by Helge. Now Noah ends up killing older Claudia to retrieve the torn pages and finds out that Charlotte is his daughter. On 26 June, Hannah arrives, having stolen the time apparatus from middle-aged Jonas in the year 2020. She finds Ulrich in prison but leaves him after finding out he still loves his wife Katharina. Now Hannah is obsessed with Ulrich from when they were kids, but Ulrich was attracted to Katharina. She even has an affair with Ulrich in the year 2020, before he time traveled to the past. She stays in that time period and has an affair with Egon Tiedemann. And also the Unknown threatens to kill the mayor of Winden unless he grants the permit to construct the nuclear plant. Egon's wife finds out he is cheating on her and divorces him. Hannah is told to go to Miss Obendorf, the mother of Horgen Obendorf. There she meets Helen Ebers, who is there to go through with an abortion. After talking to her, Hannah decides not to go through with the abortion and places a silver pendant featuring St. Christopher, the patron saint of travelers, on the seat where Helen was sitting, and then walks away. After some quiet years, in 1970, Ulrich Nilsson and Katarina Albers are born. In the year 1971, Regina Tiedemann is born. In the same year, on 11th August, the most important event that starts all this is happening. H.G. Tannhaus's son and daughter-in-law are killed in a car accident which leads him to build a time machine which results in the splitting of the worlds into two realities, which is revealed in season 3. Also the year, Jonas and Martha travel back in time to stop all this from happening. In 1972, Hannah Conwald is born. In the year 1974, Tannhaus begins his work on the time machine in the bunker. And 12 years later, in 1986, on 21st June, Tannhaus successfully completes the machine, ripping the world into two realities. On October 9, Mads Nilsson, that's Ulrich's brother, goes missing. On November, Mikkel arrives in this world by traveling through the same tunnel from 2019. Claudia learns about the barrels of nuclear waste that is stashed in the Winden caves. On 7th November, Mikkel and Hannah meet for the first time. Mikkel is adopted by a nurse that looks after him and eventually marries Hannah and have Jonas. Jonas, coming from 2009, tries to take Mikkel back to the present, but is stopped by middle-aged Jonas, who tells him that if he takes Mikkel back to the present, then he would not grow to become his father, and therefore Jonas would not exist. On 11th November, young Boris Newald, also known as Alexander Tiedemann, arrives in Winden on the run from the police. He grows up to marry Regina Tiedemann and becomes head of the nuclear power plant. Jonas is captured by Noah and Helge and is locked in the bunker, where middle-aged Jonas visits him and tells him he plans to fix everything by activating the apparatus right below the bunker in an attempt to close the wormhole. But this does not work. This results in Jonas being transported to the year 2052. In the year 1987, Peter Doppler arrives in Winden. He ends up marrying Charlotte. Old Egon Tiedemann's investigation into the disappearance of Mad Nilsson leads him to Ulrich Nilsson, who is now in old and is in a psychiatric ward. Egon finds out that the old Ulrich and teen Ulrich are the same person. He shows Ulrich a picture of Mikkel, who is alive in this year. On 25th June, Ulrich escapes from the ward in the lookout for his son, but is later captured by the police. While he is taken back to the ward, he sees the teens from the present who have traveled back using Bartosz time apparatus. The apparatus was given to Bartosz by Noah. The next day, Claudia learns that her father Egon dies on this day, and hence, in an attempt to stop it, she goes to his house. The two get into a fight and Claudia accidentally kills him, as he was knocked over into the counter. It was for this event that older Claudia apologizes to the young Egon back in 1954. On September, the unknown kills old Barn Doppler to get the master key of the nuclear power plant. At the end of season 2, we see Katarina find her way through the tunnel and shows up here in search of Ulrich and Mikkel. She happened to find old Ulrich in the psychiatric ward and promises that she would get him out of that place. But for that, she needs a keycard. On September 24th, Katarina's mother, who happens to work there, has the keycard. She holds her mother at knife point and demands the keycard. The two end up fighting, and we see that Katarina is killed by her mother and is dragged into the lake. In the year 1993, on August, Regina and Alexander marry, and Alexander takes Regina's surname. The next year, Ulrich and Katarina marry. Now the year is around 2003, where Jonas, Martha, Bartosz, Magnus, Franziska are born, and Mikkel, being born in 2008, and Elizabeth Doppler, Charlotte's daughter, was born in 2011. In 2019, June 20th, day before older Mikkel, aka Michael, commits suicide. Jonas kisses Martha at the lake, and it is today that Ulrich and Hannah kiss, thus starting their affair. Jonas, who has time travel, tries to stop Mikkel from committing suicide, but it is here we learn that this was a sacrifice. Because if he does not kill himself today, then he won't be able to set Jonas on the path to save everyone. On 21st June, Mikkel commits suicide, the first scene of season 1. On 22nd October, Eric Obendorf is kidnapped by Helge. On 4th November, Mikkel disappears, having traveled back to 1986. Also, on this day, Jonas is taken to the alternate world after saving from his world at the end of season 2, where the apocalypse has just occurred. This is the place where he meets Eve, the counterpart of Adam, or just the old version of Martha in the alternate timeline. On 5th November, middle-aged Jonas arrives. Alexander Tiedemann orders the barrels to be moved from the cave as the police may investigate to look for clues. The next day, on 6th November, middle-aged Jonas marks the map, which is eventually led to younger Jonas finding the portal, allowing him to time travel. In the same alternate timeline, on the same day, Jonas and Martha make love. This leads to Martha becoming pregnant and later giving birth to the unknown. After this, as Jonas is brought to Eve, he is shot by another version of Martha. Ulrich tries to kill adult Helge, but he himself gets killed. On 8th November, Regina Tiedemann is diagnosed with breast cancer. After 2 days, Ulrich finds the cave where he travels to 1953, where he tried to kill young Helge. At the end of season 1, on November 12th, middle-aged Jonas attempts to close the wormhole. In 2020, in the month of June, it is the second season, where Agent Clausen is assigned to Winden as there was no progress on the cases of the missing children. Events lead to the nuclear plant being decommissioned, and we see that Alexander Tiedemann buries the barrels of toxic waste and covers it in concrete. Middle-aged Jonas reveals to Hannah that he is from the future after the Jonas of the present time has traveled through the tunnel and is gone missing in this world. A middle-aged Claudia Tiedemann sees her grown-up daughter Regina dying of cancer. Also, Katharina looks at old class photos and finds out that Mikkel grew up in the 80s, and she sets out on finding him and her husband Ulrich. Agent Clausen, in his investigation, arrests Alexander for identity theft. It is revealed that Clausen's brother went missing in 1986, and Alexander has taken up his identity. The next day, middle-aged Jonas holds Martha at gunpoint and tells her to stay in the bunker, as he knows that the apocalypse is nearing. But Martha escapes from the bunker as Peter and Elizabeth Doppler come into the bunker for safety, and after some time, young Noah makes it to the bunker. Heading to the nuclear power plant, Clausen gets a search warrant and demands for the toxic waste to be dug out. Martha, after escaping from the bunker, runs back to Jonas' house hoping younger Jonas would come back. Now as they reunite, Adam arrives there and shoots Martha. Back at the nuclear plant, as they open on one of the barrels of toxic waste, we witness the God particle for the first time, and a portal is created. Here Charlotte sees her daughter Elizabeth in the future, and as they close in, Charlotte is transported to the future and the apocalypse begins. Now, here where things get complicated, as we see 3 possible outcomes. Number 1, Adam shoots Martha and an alternate Martha comes to save Jonas. Number 2, nobody arrives and Jonas runs to the basement. And the last, number 3, Adam arrives and takes Jonas to the time where he stops the car crash from happening. Now we go back to the post-apocalypse where we see Claudia taking care of her daughter Regina. Also, Peter and young Elizabeth are still looking for Charlotte and Franziska. 2 days later, Peter is killed by a stranger in their RV. This was predicted by young Noah. The two start digging a tunnel in the caves. In the year 2022, where Jonas, who lives as a result of various outcomes that occurred at the moment of apocalypse, along with Claudia, try to get the God particle to work. After several failed attempts, Jonas tries to kill himself but is saved by a young Noah who tells him that it is impossible for him to die as an older self. Adam is still alive. In 2040, Claudia kills the alternate version of herself in order to begin orchestrating a plan to end the knot. Now the year is 2041. Noah and Elizabeth have baby Charlotte as stated in the tone pages of the Trikritra book. Elizabeth and Charlotte from the future travel back and kidnaps her own daughter, and they end up at H.G. Tannhaus Place in 1971, where Charlotte grows up to be the police officer and the wife of Peter Doppler. After a few years, in 2052, Jonas and alternate Martha meet middle-aged Martha after Jonas decides to bring her to Eve in order to search for answers. The next day, Bartosz arrives and stops alternate Martha from saving Jonas, and she is brought to Eve, who slashes her face to remind her whose side she was on. That is when the unknown arrives, and Eve reveals it is her son and instructs her to kill Jonas. That is why in 2020, when Jonas arrives at Eve's place with Martha, and alternate Martha appears and kills Jonas in order for the cycle to continue. At the end of season 1, on November 12, 2052, Jonas is transported to the future and discovers the God particle. He needed fuel to stabilize the particle, but is caught by adult Elizabeth, who sentences him to death. But later we see that she shoots the rope at the last minute and allows Jonas to go back to the God particle, where he travels to 1921. Now it is the year 2053, where the whole story starts to untangle. On September, we learn that Martha, who saved Jonas at the end of season 2, is working with Adam only to be betrayed and captured by him. This is also the same Martha who left behind the middle-aged Jonas in 1888. He reveals that she is pregnant and inside her is the origin and it must be destroyed to end the cycle of pain. On September 25th, as Adam is closing in on destroying the origin, thereby untying the knot, we see the arrival of old Claudia Tiedemann, who tells him that he has been tricked and must reunite younger Jonas and Martha in order to save Tannhaus' family. She tells him that there was a third world, or rather the origin world. We see that Adam saves Jonas as the apocalypse happens and takes him to 1971, where he was supposed to unite with Martha, and both of them stop the crash from happening. Since the crash was avoided, it does not lead to Tannhaus building the time machine, which would mean that the two worlds would not exist. Hence we see that Jonas and Martha start disintegrating. Now this world is the origin world where time travel does not exist, and we see a scene where the remaining characters in the origin world are at a dinner party where Hannah and Wooler announce that they will name the baby Jonas. Well, that's about it. The show ends here. If we have missed any important events, do let us know in the comments. And here's something for you guys to think about. The story of Boris Newald, aka Alexander Tiedemann. Nothing much about him, but it is very interesting to note that his surname Newald is a combination of Nielsen and Kahnwald. What are your views on this? For any further clarifications, leave a comment. And if you have enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe the channel, and also press the bell icon so that you get all the videos as soon as we upload. Thank you for watching.